Jurgen Klopp isn't who you think he is. Secret brand deals, a failed marriage, fake hair? Jurgen's been living a secret life, and it's all about to get exposed. But first, I gotta start from the beginning, because Jurgen wasn't even supposed to be in football. Growing up was a confusing challenge for Jurgen and his family. He was born on June 16, 1967, to his dad Norbert Klopp, who was an amateur goalie, while his mom, Elizabeth Klopp, used to work as a saleswoman. Jurgen grew up with his two sisters, Isolde and Rieke, and from the early days, it was all about the family bond for Klopp. He had early dreams of becoming a doctor, but his dad introduced him to sports, and after trying out skiing and tennis, Jurgen decided it was football he wanted to focus on. He became so dedicated to the sport that his mom Elizabeth has stories of him setting goalposts in living rooms. "My son gets along with everyone. He played soccer on the field outside in the summer, and then in the winter, set up a goal in the living room." Well, that explains the heavy metal attitude. Once his dad saw how dedicated Jurgen was to the sport, he had him signed up to join the local team in Gluten when he was 5. And for the next 10 years, Jurgen went on to steadily develop his skills, even playing semi-pro football for 3 Frankfurt clubs, right after he moved to FC Pforzheim. During this time, Jurgen took a decision that was going to change his life. See, because he was semi-pro at this point, he still had extra time on his hands. And instead of just wasting it, he decided to get a job working at a video store before enrolling in the University of Goethe to study sports science. Jurgen had 2 dreams, making it to the top as a pro and one day becoming a coach. And his first dream was about to be fulfilled, because in 1990, Jurgen got signed by Mainz, and for him, it was huge. Now, he was finally playing at a professional level because Mainz was in the 2nd division of the German Bundesliga. It wasn't exactly the career he was expecting. All through the years, Jurgen had played as a striker, but a few seasons down the line, he was playing as a center defensive midfielder, before converting to center back and staying there permanently. In 1995, Jurgen completed his degree in sports science and had his thesis on race walking. Seriously, dude? Anyways, in 2001, after scoring 56 goals in 340 appearances for Mainz, Jurgen decided to retire at 33, because according to him, he had 4th division feet and a 1st division brain. Not long after retiring, he was back in the game again, this time taking on the role of manager for his previous side Mainz. But away from football, 2001 was a pretty rough year for Jurgen. He unfortunately lost his dad a year earlier to liver cancer, and shortly after his announcement as the new Mainz boss, he and his wife of 12 years, Sabine, got divorced. They married in 1988 and had a 13-year-old son at the time named Mark, and it was decided that he should live with his mom instead. Back to the pitch. In his first 2 seasons, he nearly missed out on promotion, but at the 3rd attempt, Jurgen had taken Mainz to the Bundesliga for the first time in their history. He even got them to qualify and play in the UEFA Cup in the 2005 and 6 season. But after a disappointing season the following year, my man was out. And maybe he needed the time too, because Jurgen was experiencing a couple of new changes that had him feeling like a high school teen again. In 2005, the annual Oktoberfest in Germany was taking place, and Jurgen decided to have a drink and chill out with some of his buddies. Now, by this time, Jurgen's reputation was growing pretty fast, and almost everyone at Mainz knew who he was, except the waitress Ulla Sandrock. Ulla was working at the bar serving drinks, and when she approached the table Jurgen and his friends were at, they all expected her to go crazy after meeting Jurgen and even asking him for a photo or something. But she remained chill and just walked off. Jurgen was stunned, so he decided to have a conversation with her, and that's when he realized she had no idea who he was. To him, it was amazing. So they both met up later in the day, and 3 days later, she had already moved in with him. Jurgen and Ulla were going pretty fast, and she was like a good luck charm to him, because this season was the one that saw Mainz play in Europe for the first time in their history. And Jurgen knew he needed Ulla around, but he needed to be sure of something first, and that's when he popped the million-dollar question. "Ulla, have you subscribed to Mr. Football? Oh, and will you marry me?" She said yes to both, and Jurgen knew he found a keeper. They both got married in 2015, and it kind of balanced up too, because Ulla had a child from a previous marriage just like Jurgen. After leaving Mainz in 2007, the next club for Jurgen was Borussia Dortmund. And it was here he truly announced himself to the football world as the next big coach in the game. See, back at Mainz, Jurgen became famous for his gegenpressing style of play. a system that involved immediately winning the ball back after losing it. But now at Dortmund, with a more established team and better players, he'd taken them to the next level. Between 2010 and 2013, they won the league twice, won a DFB Pokal, and even reached the Champions League final. But after a disappointing 2014 campaign, Jurgen decided to call it quits with Dortmund. But just after 4 months later, he was back at it again. Only this time, he respawned as the normal one in another country, Liverpool. Jurgen agreed to a deal to become the new head coach of the Reds, and in the 8 years ever since, he's won every possible trophy at the club. The Champions League, Premier League, FA Cup, Carabao Cup, Club World Cup, and even the Community Shield. But that's just his career on the pitch. Off it, the heavy metal Jurgen is something else. Jurgen is the second highest paid manager in the league, earning about $20 million a year, just behind Pep Guardiola at $24 million. Now, you'd think with a paycheck like that, Jurgen has a cool Ferrari or a Lambo. But actually, he prefers to keep it simple. He's been spotted taking train rides on multiple occasions and caught walking for long distances or riding bikes. But that doesn't mean he doesn't own a car though. A few years back, he signed an endorsement deal and got an Opel Insignia that's worth $29,000 in 2012. But in 2021, right after signing a contract extension to continue as the Liverpool coach until 2027, Jurgen decided to reward himself a bit and splash the cash on a mega exclusive. A Bentley Continental. This one cost him $190,000, but when you're on $20 million a year, it's chicken change. When Jurgen first arrived in Liverpool in 2015, he decided to rent the house previously owned by the former Liverpool manager Brendan Rodgers, until Rodgers decided to sell the house and kick Jurgen out. Yikes! But if you thought this was crazy, there's another plot twist. See, Brendan kicked Jurgen out and he put the house up for sale, but then the Liverpool board decided to buy the house and allow Jurgen to live in it. Amazing stuff. When Jurgen isn't drilling his Liverpool team and decides to take a vacation away from England, he goes to his beach vacation home in Mallorca. And yeah, he does own this one. Apart from his mega salary at Liverpool, Jurgen also rakes in money from sponsorship deals, because he's signed under brands like Adidas, Puma, and even Erdinger Beer. He's also a nice guy because it's recently been revealed that he donates a percentage of his income to charity, and is an active party in the No Room for Racism campaign in Germany. Jurgen loves to chill out at home with his wife and dog, and recently, his grandkids. Jurgen's stepson Dennis announced the news that he and his partner were expecting a baby together, meaning Jurgen was going to become a granddad. It was amazing news for him, and I'd bet he's got lots of crazy stories to tell his grandkids. Now, I'm sure you're probably thinking, what's happened to Jurgen's kid, Mark? Well, he decided to follow in his dad's early footsteps and keep the tradition of turning pro in the family going, starting football in 2007 when he played for the FSV Frankfurt under-19 team. He then joined Carabiner SV from 2009 to 2010. Then he got a big streak at SV Darmstadt, and ultimately Borussia Dortmund. No, not the senior team, Borussia Dortmund 2, where he once had a market value of $16 million. Mark retired in 2015 after sustaining multiple injuries in the game. He mainly played as a right back and was pretty decent too. His dad Jurgen had been known to support him over the years and has even turned up at some of his games. Jurgen's a pretty nice dude and in public has a faith as a Christian, and that's why when he suffered another dark moment in 2021, it was his family, friends, team, and faith that helped him move on. The world was still in lockdown phase, so there were travel restrictions across the globe. Unfortunately for Jurgen, he got the news that his mom Elizabeth had passed away. But what made it more heartbreaking was that he couldn't attend the burial ceremony because there were travel restrictions in England. Jurgen said the period was tough for him, but he had the right people and the right team to see him through it, and to make him smile again. Speaking of smiles, Jurgen's heavy on appearances. I mean, at the dude, he looks like a rock star from a GTA scene. Jurgen's got his teeth done after seeing some crazy effects it had on Roberto Firmino's smile. And last summer, he ditched his glasses look after getting laser surgery on his eyes. But one of Jurgen's biggest features is his amazing hair. Except this, it isn't original. Jurgen admitted to getting a hair transplant in 2012. And to be honest, can't even blame the dude. It does look pretty cool. 11 years later, and it's still a huge fit. Jurgen loves to shy away from the cameras, but the man worked in a video store early on, so when he has to do a face one, he knows how to put on the appearances. Now that's funny. And while Jurgen's a pretty simple dude, or the normal one, the special one is a whole different animal. There's a reason Jose Mourinho is one of the most dangerous managers in the game. Click the next video to find out how he achieved the impossible with nothing.